Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are unpacking a political hot potato that has the ANC scrambling, opposition parties shouting, and South Africans shaking their heads in frustration. It's all about Deputy President Paul Mashatile and the growing storm around allegations of misconduct, questionable business links, and, let's call it what it is, a worrying pattern of selective accountability inside the ruling party. Now, for months Mashatile has been under public pressure over claims of using state resources for personal benefit, as well as his alleged ties to dodgy business dealings. He has denied everything, of course. But here's the kicker: despite civil society groups, the media, and opposition leaders calling for a proper investigation, the ANC's leadership has decided to close ranks around him, insisting this is all a non-issue. And that, folks, is where the real story begins. Over the weekend, during a televised political roundtable, a well-respected political analyst, who wisely chose to remain anonymous, accused the ANC of the deliberate act of political protectionism. In plain English, they're saying the party is protecting Mashatile at all costs, not because he's innocent, but because he's politically connected. According to this analyst, the ANC is sacrificing integrity for survival. Think about that. It's essentially an admission that the ANC's priority isn't the truth or the rule of law, but political convenience. The analyst's words cut deep. Mashatile should have been subjected to a transparent internal process, the same way the ANC claims it treats all leaders. Instead, we are witnessing selective accountability, where the politically connected are spared. That's a heavy accusation, but in South Africa's political climate, it rings uncomfortably familiar. Let's pause here and think about the bigger picture. The ANC's official position has been that everyone is equal under the party's disciplinary system. But over the years, we've seen a pattern where those with enough influence or factional support somehow manage to dodge serious consequences, while lesser-known figures are swiftly disciplined or even expelled. This isn't a once-off, it's becoming part of the political culture. And it's exactly this kind of double standard that fuels public anger and cynicism about politics. If you talk to everyday South Africans, whether it's at a taxi rank, a shebeen, or a church meeting, the sentiment is the same: if you're high enough up the political ladder, you'll never fall. And Mashatile's case seems to be reinforcing that view. The ANC's refusal to even open a proper inquiry sends the message that loyalty to the party leadership is more important than loyalty to the country's democratic principles. This is dangerous territory. As the analyst pointed out, shielding leaders from accountability doesn't just tarnish the ANC's image, it corrodes trust in democratic institutions. Once the public starts believing that rules don't apply to the powerful, the legitimacy of both the government and the political system begins to crumble. That's not just bad news for the ANC, it's bad news for South Africa as a whole. Of course, we can't ignore the political chess at play. Mashatile is not just a deputy president, he's a major player in the ANC's internal power dynamics. He has allies across influential factions, and with the 2026 local government elections on the horizon, the party can't afford a messy internal scandal that could weaken their campaign. So instead of confronting the allegations head-on, the leadership seems to be banking on the hope that this controversy will fade away if they keep dismissing it. But here's the problem: scandals in South Africa don't just disappear. They might simmer quietly for a while, but they have a habit of resurfacing, often at the worst possible moment. Remember Nkandla? Or the Guptas? Or the PPE procurement mess during the pandemic? All of them started with the same kind of political stonewalling. And each time, the eventual fallout was far worse than if the matter had been addressed early and transparently. What makes this situation even more concerning is the timing. South Africa is in the middle of a heated debate about political ethics and accountability. People are tired of hearing about billions lost to corruption, public funds misused, and leaders who live lavishly while ordinary citizens struggle with unemployment, failing services, and the high cost of living. In that climate, defending a leader accused of misconduct, without even investigating, looks like political suicide. And yet, the ANC leadership insists Mashatile's situation is not worth the fuss. That's a bold gamble. If new evidence emerges, or if public pressure keeps building, they might find themselves forced into an embarrassing U-turn. And the damage to their credibility will be even greater because it will confirm what critics have been saying all along, that the ANC only acts when it has no other choice. This whole episode also puts pressure on President Cyril Ramaphosa. He has built his brand on promises of clean governance and rooting out corruption, but here he is, standing by while his deputy is shielded from scrutiny. For someone who has repeatedly told the nation that no one is above the law, it's not a good look. If he doesn't step in, critics will say he's complicit in the culture of selective accountability. If he does act, he risks a political backlash from Mashatile's allies. It's a lose-lose scenario, but one that will test Ramaphosa's leadership in a very public way. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Paul Mashatile. It's about whether South Africa's leaders still believe in the values they claim to uphold. It's about whether the ANC is willing to put the health of the country's democracy above its own short-term political calculations. And it's about whether ordinary South Africans will continue to tolerate a political system where the powerful are protected, while the powerless are punished. So, what do you think? Is the ANC making a smart political move by closing ranks around Mashatile, or is this a dangerous step that could cost them in the long run? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more in-depth political analysis, and share it with others who care about South Africa's future. See you next time.